Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. It's me, Niall. Delighted as always to be joined by Danny, and we're here with a preview for a British heavyweight title fight. Of course, it's a very illustrious belt held by a lot of great fighters over the years in the heavyweight division. But this one sees Frazer Clarke in a huge fight for him to win a British title against Jeamie TKV. Of course, coming off a controversial loss for the title himself against David Adelaide last time out. So yeah, this one Derby, of course, part of the Boxer's new BBC deal. So this one will be headlining live on the BBC. And yeah, Danny, I hope you're well. First of all, let's jump into it. As I say, Boxer's BBC era kicking off with a British heavyweight title fight between Frazer Clarke and Jeamie TKV. What's your I'll leave the floor to you. Like, what's your thoughts on this one and your general overview and I suppose a prediction as to how this one will go?
Makes a lot of sense going with a heavyweight fight as your curtain raiser on a new platform like BBC when you're going to capture a lot of people who aren't your traditional boxing audience. And it's a cliche, but there's boxing, then there's heavyweight boxing, and heavyweight boxing has always drawn more eyes. So I think the fact it's literally two heavyweights and you've got that British title selling point, it will capture the attention of, as I say, people who won't be watching a lot of boxing. I think it's going to be a more technical fight. I don't see in this one being a slugfest. These are two talented boxers. You look at the way Jeamie TKV, in my eyes, he was winning that Adelaide fight comfortably enough. He was really able to just not so much in what he was doing. He was landing a lot of good jabs, but just completely negate the offense of David Adelaide, who, again, for whatever flaws he may have, he's an aggressive, powerful fighter, and he's good offensively. And TKV, up until that very controversial stoppage, like, he was very unfortunate. You know, the ref said break. His fault for dropping his hands and then got hit. But up until that point, Adelaide didn't land anything big, didn't look like he was going to land anything big. Frazer Clarke is an interesting one. The way he dealt with Ebenezer Tete was good. I mean, Ebenezer Tete is an opponent very much of a level, but we saw him give Dillian Whyte plenty to think about. Lasted, what was it, 7-8 rounds against Dillian Whyte. I passed his best, Dillian Whyte, but it shows he'll not just rule over to anyone, and Frazer Clarke put him away in one round. You would imagine there's still going to be some mental scars from what happened to Frazer Clarke against Fabio Wardley in the rematch. You'll imagine it'll also take a dent out of his punch resistance. Whether Jeamie TKV, with his style, is the fighter to deploy that, I would argue maybe not. I don't think it's a bad style for Frazer Clarke's first competitive fight, his first fight where there is real jeopardy he could lose. I don't think it's a bad style for him. In terms of prediction, I do fancy Frazer Clarke. I see this being as close to a pure boxing match as we'll see in the heavyweight division. Hopefully it does catch fire and do a bit more than that at some point. And with Frazer Clarke's amateur pedigree, he is a very neat and tidy boxer, and I think he'd be maybe the slightly rangier of the two off the top of my head. So I'll go Frazer Clarke on points here. I don't think it'll be certainly not as entertaining as his fight against Fabio Wardley the first time. I don't think he'd want it to be that entertaining, and I think he should know enough to edge out Jeamie TKV on points. And the first Fabio Wardley fight, in terms of the pace that was fought at, going the 12 rounds, I think that'll suit him.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that analysis, to be honest with you. Firstly on Jeamie TKV, Jeamie TKV for me is a weird one. Like, before the David Adelaide fight, I didn't really rate Jeamie TKV that highly. I thought it'd be I won't say comfortable, but a kind of relatively decisive win for David Adelaide. But as you say, he was undoubtedly winning that fight. I thought he looked very good against Adelaide until the controversial ending. So he's definitely better than I kind of gave him credit for, absolutely. But yeah, Frazer Clarke, another very interesting case. You said something there which is very true, and it's something that we haven't got to see yet. What is the mental kind of scars like from that Fabio Wardley fight? The Tete fight only lasted a round. We didn't get to see it. What happens if somebody can take him kind of 3, 4, 5 rounds and land kind of big shots on him? How he copes with that. So that there is, that kind of big tangible factor there that I'm looking forward to seeing in this one. But as you say, Jeamie TKV is not somebody who's going to come in like Fabio Wardley and steamroll Frazer Clarke in a round like Fabio Wardley did in the rematch. So yeah, he's not going to outbox him either. If it comes to pure boxing, Clarke should be a level, maybe two levels above Jeamie TKV, to be honest with you. And I know I said that for both Fabio Wardley fights, and I was left with egg on my face saying that Frazer Clarke would soundly outbox Fabio Wardley, but I don't think Jeamie TKV is as good as Fabio Wardley, so I'm going for a wide Frazer Clarke points win here, and not the best fight, I don't think it'll be an really exciting watch, but as you say, heavyweight boxing is always, must see. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. This one as a headliner in Derby. Just kind of following on from that, we are both going for Frazer Clarke win here. On paper he should win, but I'll kind of beg the question that if it goes wrong for Frazer Clarke here and he does lose, that has to be the end for him, doesn't it? It has to be game over as a pro, or am I being a bit too harsh?
I completely see why you would say it, just because, like, where do you go? Like, Salt Acres is coming off a good win. You could revisit that, but it's about what promoters are willing to put these fights on. And there's a lot of British heavyweights, right from the top end down to even your Dave Allen, who proved on Saturday he's a commercial commodity, certainly a commercial commodity. And they'll all be way above the loser of this fight, whoever it is. So it's going to be a long way back for the loser of this. I think it'll be difficult for Frazer Clarke to retire if he does lose, based on the aspirations he'll have had turning over with the amateur pedigree Olympic bronze medalist. Be a really difficult road back to suffer a defeat here.
Yeah, absolutely. We have an inside joke at ESBR with the McHenry gif saying he should finish, but I think this will be getting a run out if it does go wrong. And I think,
Especially if he stopped. Especially if he stopped.
yeah, oh, if he stopped, absolutely, yeah, that just absolutely confirms it. But no, as you say, it is a long, long way back. After the Fabio Wardley fight, I know Fabio Wardley hasn't kind of proved that he's world champion level yet, but people were saying, okay, at least Frazer Clarke, if he is to come back and go for the British title next. But yeah, as you say, with the aspirations that he has and the amateur pedigree and he's not young. Of course, we haven't mentioned that either. Like, he's not young. He turned over late. I know for the heavyweight division, fighters can go on to a good age, but if he lost to Jeamie TKV, it would be a long, long way back. And he's not in the Frazer Clarke is not in the business of kind of staying around for quote unquote meaningless fights, at a lower level than British level. So yeah, I think it is huge. It's must win for Frazer Clarke. But yeah, just before we kind of wrap up, we are both going for him to win this fight. So let's say it does work out well for him. Can he go on? Maybe not kind of world title level, but maybe fringe world level European title. Could you see him picking up? Like, will he move further than British title level in your opinion?
It's not beyond the realms of possibility, because I had him winning that first Fabio Wardley fight. It was by no means a terrible decision for the draw, but if I remember right on the night, certainly more people had Clarke winning than Wardley. And Fabio Wardley's about to fight Joseph Parker, and he could chin Parker, and then he's the next in line. So Clarke's proven he can mix it with, top 10 heavyweights. I think the fight to make for me, if he does come through this, is David Adelaide. There's a lot of bad blood between those two, genuine dislike, has been rumbling for quite some time. And for me, David Adelaide's not proven he's beyond British level. Far from it. He was comprehensively beaten by Fabio Wardley for the British title. Yes, he won it against Jeamie TKV, but as we've discussed sort of in depth, under very controversial circumstances, and had a valiant enough loss against Filip Hrgovic where he did have success. But, just because you suffer a good defeat to a fringe world level heavyweight doesn't automatically make you one. Dave Allen would be the first to say, just because he went the distance with Makhmudov and had positive success, that doesn't make him a top 20 heavyweight, you know what I mean? So I would like to see that fight. I think that's a fight that they could get that on the BBC with the build up that there would no doubt between them. I saw Frazer Clarke had some very choice words for David Adelaide, the launch press conference for the TKV fight. That's the fight to make for me.
Yeah, that would be a good fight. Absolutely. It's a name that I didn't really think of there when I asked that question, but yeah, it's sign me up for that one if he was to win. And you know, who would you go for on that one? That's an interesting one now thinking of it. Who would you back there? I'd still have to go Frazer Clarke.
So would I. I agree with you. I think Frazer Clarke would be able to cause similar problems and ask similar questions of David Adelaide that Jeamie DKV did and that Filip Hrgovic did, to be honest. I think it's not a bad fight stylistically for Frazer Clarke, although Adelaide carries power that probably does rival Fabio Wardley. Certainly that left hook of David Adelaide's a formidable punch, and Frazer Clarke would have to be very wary of that. But although he carries that power and that explosiveness, I don't think he has that sort of very quick, rapid jump through the gears that Fabio Wardley has. Although, Adelaide's shown he can throw back when hurt and in good fashion against Filip Hrgovic. I don't think it's quite the same injection of pace that Fabio Wardley has that sort of got him that draw, and then, of course, got him the first round stoppage. So if he comes through TKV in the manner that we're both predicting, I'd favour him against Adelaide.
Yeah, I'd have to myself, like as you said earlier. You know, it's a win, it's a loss, I should say, that hasn't aged badly. The one against Fabio Wardley, as you say, I had him winning the first fight, and then the second fight, Fabio Wardley has done that to Justice Uni. He could very well do it to Joseph Parker, and then if he does, he's right next in line for a world title shot. So there's no shame in that. Clarke's still a very talented boxer. It's just for me, as I said at the start of the video, and you said as well, it all comes down to the kind of side effects, the mental scarring that's left over after that Fabio Wardley rematch. That's what I'm so curious to see. But yeah, it will be answered, or will it, against Jeamie TKV? That was myself and Danny with our preview for this big British heavyweight title fight this Saturday night. It's sure to be a good one. So let us know your thoughts. Are you going with Frazer Clarke, or can Jeamie TKV cause an upset and likely end the career of Frazer Clarke? Let us know. Get involved down below. And as always, don't forget, as always, drop a like on the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel at ESBR Boxing if you're not doing so already, and follow us on all social media. Danny, it was a pleasure. Take care.
Thanks, mate.